Welcome to DETV. Today with me is Courtney Miller from EcoBuild Architects. Courtney, welcome to the program. It's a pleasure to having you in this program. We're going to jump into the conversation directly. Tell us a little bit about your background and your expertise in the field.
Yeah, have about 30 years of experience in commercial, institutional, and residential design, and started my practice back in Boston around 92, and had also a green building consulting practice, consultancy, as well as my own firm, and was heavily involved in the early phases of the green building movement, and was also doing a lot of conferences on those interesting advanced high performance building topics. And so my clients were pushing, I was doing a lot of solar homes, super insulated solar homes on the East Coast, and as well as doing green building consulting for various clients.
So you're quite familiar with changing courses, because when the green buildings movements started, it was a new thing and there was like a lot of uncertainties around it. And you guys managed to pull it off in a really good way. And it feels like with COVID, we have to do the same.
I would say we have to think about wellness, right? Exactly. That the green building movement started with healthy buildings, or buildings that were the opposite. They were sick buildings that had really poor ventilation and indoor air quality, bad daylighting, because they were trying to shut off the windows to be more energy efficient. But in effect, they ended up driving up they reduced the daylighting and created this indoor air quality disaster, which really became the inception of the green building movement. And so when I came out to California in 2005, a lot of the firms I worked for, I had an opportunity to implement my green building background in a lot of the consulting I was doing. Working with consultants on very complex buildings. The new campus we did for LAUSD, a completely a new school campus down in Los Angeles. We use the CHIPS program, California's high performance program for schools, and so as I was working with engineers on that project, those green building, that background, that understanding of how building envelopes are designed came into play, when I was working on that project, and as well as other buildings like the 17-story Soma Hotel, which is now under construction. I was coordinating all the consultants on that, and the mechanical engineers were Arab, and had a chance to influence as well, the design of the building. And it was rewarding to see how those background and those skills can kind of help you to be more effective in design, to achieving the goals.
So if we move forward now and then look at the situation right now, what are the opportunities you see from your background perspective that you can bring to the table?
I think that as we were talking about before, when you have a lot of, broken economy and a lot of clients that are really kind of struggling to save their properties, they're going to be needing in a kind of, they'll be in a triage situation where there's an opportunity for architects or designers, engineers, design teams to come to the aid of these owners to help them with their properties, to see what are the strategic steps, what essential moves they can do to recover what they have, the assets they have. And so this sort of stirring the pot here, and that the chips falling where they may, gives the opportunity for the players to jump into the fray, to see how we can help them.
It's interesting because at the moment there's a lot of conversation around retail industry, retail section, malls and places that used to be full of people, but now because of COVID situation, they're empty and there's no perspective of them getting crowded again anytime soon. So this kind of a new look into spaces, is it something that you can adapt for these kind of sections?
Yes, and especially when they have these big parking lots that should really be housing. And so a lot of them, if the cities are going to say, well, we don't need this much parking, and so let's put, housing right here in your parking lot, and that will bring your people who will be, be participating or be your customers for your retail. Right there, you're bringing in a captive market right to the site. So all throughout Silicon Valley, there's huge opportunities for this kind of mixed use. It's called retrofitting the suburbs.
Interesting. And then at the same time, it's not just the commercial spaces that are going to change from now on. It's the residential as well. What are the changes you see and predict for the future of residential?
I think that it will be the same in the sense that there is going to be more of a push to make opportunities for higher density near transit and open up sites, open up entitlements to allow developers to put the housing where it should be, close to transit, close to commercial, to enhance the street interface so that people can walk more and bicycle more and be less car dependent. And we were talking about how California is, such a beautiful climate, but we're not taking advantage of it, keeping people locked in cars. And I think COVID should say that maybe we don't. I don't know, that the beautiful outdoors, or dining, we were talking about how, that dining outdoors, al fresco, is going to be very popular. So all the more you want to create these spaces where people can open up with landscape and have plenty of room to move around. But where are those spaces, those parking lots that we don't need anymore? If we can tie development closer to transit and make it easier to walk and use a bike and enjoy these beautiful outdoor spaces for dining and retail.
Yeah, exactly. There are, I live in London, and in London there is this massive plan to change some of the streets exactly for that, even though we don't have lovely weather that you guys have in California. But if there's, in the audience, there's someone who's coming from a construction background or realtor, what are the opportunities that they should go to architects, in your view, now, and ask them for the help from an architect?
A lot of, especially I think, when you're in a low budget environment where people can't have limited funds, working with a graphic designer and environmental designer, signage and all kinds of landscape elements that are relatively low cost. You could capture parts of a parking lot, turn that into a park, and quickly create little sort of eating kiosks or things that would make. There's ways to do strategic, quick interventions, low budget, that could create a completely new image for a place. I think you're seeing a lot more of that going on.
Interesting. And what's your vision for the future of architecture now?
Ah, I think with climate change that there's going to be more and more pressure on every development to be low carbon, and that would be including the issue of sustainable resilience, that a building what's it called? Survival resilience. Forgetting about the term, but buildings that can be unplugged, that under any circumstances they can operate without any utilities, if they can open up and have fresh ventilation and actually be powered by solar, be energy to be grid independent, and to have the ability to use natural ventilation, day lighting, and to take advantage of existing buildings and retrofit, that we can salvage new buildings in new ways to also reduce the carbon impact.
Perfect. Is there anything else that you want to mention?
I guess it is a creative balance of all the players on a team that can make, I think, a client very happy, in terms of when you have the graphic designer and your landscape architect and the whole team working together creatively in a charrette, sort of kickoff charrette approach, that you actually, it's sort of integrated design approach, where all of a sudden there's all kinds of new ideas that pop out that we weren't expecting. So I think that way of approaching projects has to kind of be utilized more often.
Thank you so much, Courtney Miller from EcoBuild Architects.
Thank you.
Audio